Do good, Maverick here. Welcome to podcast episode number 169. By the way, sorry about the bad lighting for those of you that are watching the video. I'm outside on a walk. Are you living your life dictated by the size of a paycheck? There's a quote by Robert Kiyosaki. To live a life dictated by the size of a paycheck is not really living a life. Thinking that a job makes you secure is lying to yourself. That's cruel, and that's the trap I want you to avoid. By the way, I think I butchered that quote. Let me read it again. There's a quote by Robert Kiyosaki. To live a life dictated by the size of a paycheck is not really living a life. Thinking that a job makes you secure is lying to yourself. That's cruel, and that's the trap I want you to avoid. Robert T. Kiyosaki. Now, maybe that quote is an overstatement, but at the same time, I think there's a lot of truth to it. If you're letting your paycheck dictate your life, you might find yourself in a situation where you're kind of living under an imaginary glass ceiling that you don't really have to live under. Maybe you're kind of letting yourself be dictated by the size of a paycheck, but there are other options out there. I'm not saying it is easy, but or like in inspirational way, there are people doing it. Yeah, sorry about that interruption, but yeah, I'm not saying it's easy. Hey, at the time of this recording, I've not even done it myself, but what one man can do, another man can do. And just imagine how much more things would be possible if our income increased. Now, I'm not saying money is the solution to everything. It's not. But at the same time, money, it does affect almost everything. Even if money is not the most important thing in life, it does have an impact or an influence on almost all important things in life. What things are you not doing because a lack of money is the problem? And the thing is, one thing that is kind of fascinating to think about is that oftentimes we are very aware that money is holding us back, or that the lack of money is holding us back in many ways. But the thing is, oftentimes it's not as much money as we think. Maybe we are putting a bunch of things off because we think we have to be a multi-millionaire in order to do them. But oftentimes a lot of those things, of course not all of them, oftentimes not all of them, but a lot of things can be done with like multiple 5 figures in profit per month. Look at that view. For those of you looking at the video version. But yeah, are you living your life dictated by the size of a paycheck? What would you be doing if you, one thing that a lot of people, one thing that I think a lot of people are asking themselves is that, like, if they were a multi-millionaire, what would they be doing? That's one thing. But another question that's actually also really fascinating is what would you do if you made like multiple 5 figures in profit per month? like 20, 30, 40, 50, $60,000 in profit per month, what would you be doing? After reading the 4-hour work week years ago, after reading the chapter Ideal Lifestyle Design, where Tim Ferriss talks about that, it was, what should I call it? It was a pretty heavy aha moment, because there's a lot of things that are possible with a lot less money than we oftentimes tends to think. But yeah. And of course, the thing is, if you are living your life dictated by the size of a paycheck, maybe you should increase your income. Jim Rohn used to say, profits are better than wages. And then he said something like, wages make you a living, profits can make you a fortune. And that's a fascinating thing these days, when you have things like the internet, social media, AI, artificial intelligence. There's a lot of options when it comes to increasing your income. And you know, one option might be building a paid community. If you have not yet checked out communitycashcows.com, I highly advise you to do so. There's a bunch of really fascinating success stories of people that are running paid communities and making over $10,000 in profit per month. And by the way, I'm really sorry about the horrible lighting in this video. It got dark quicker than I expected here outside. But yeah, check out communitycashcows.com. Take care and God bless.